If I were to ask you what the worst zombie map of all time is, what would you say? What maps come to mind? Transit? Beast from Beyond? Duranfang? Well, what if I were to tell you it's none of those maps? In fact, it's not even in Vanguard, Infinite Warfare, Black Ops 2, or even World War II. No. The worst zombie map of all time is the second DLC map of Advanced Warfare, Infection. Oh yeah, we're doing this. For every shining light, there is a well of darkness. For every bright mountain, there's a dark cave that lies beneath. If Tag der Toten is the best map to me, then there certainly has to be a worst. Infection, or as many call it, Burger Town, because of how absolutely forgettable every other area of the map is, this map has to be one of the most poorly executed experiences Call of Duty has ever given us. Forget just zombies. This map is so terrible, it transcends the mode itself. Now, an easy thing to do would just be to compare and contrast this map to literally every other that exists, just to show how bad it is. But you know what? Infection is so absolutely abysmal, we don't even need to do that. Just by dissecting the map alone and not drawing any comparisons to others is enough to explain how awful it is. So, if you're ready for this, then let's dive in to this literal sewer. It cannot be expressed how much at a disadvantage you are as the player with all the weapons, equipment, and features at your disposal. And that goes for the entire game mode, not just Infection. It can't be understated how weak the guns in this game feel. And with this being a mode that progresses the health of the zombies, it only compounds with the 20 levels you have to pack your guns. If you thought the 3-pack levels from modern zombies or the 5-pack levels from BO4 were annoying, oh, it isn't even on the same level as this. It feels as if you aren't packing every single round, your guns do nothing. Which just brings us to the problem this pack system does. It forces the sunken cost fallacy, where after you've packed a gun 2 or 3 times, now you're far less likely to switch to an unpacked gun from the box. Simply because of how many points you have to dump into it just to get it even remotely usable. Which, speaking of usability, nothing but explosives are even remotely viable in dealing with the hordes in this game. It doesn't matter that there's no PhD in this game. You need the damage. And the shotguns burn through ammo far too fast to rely on them. There will be situations where you will have to sacrifice packing your weapon to make it more usable and buy ammo for a wall gun just to get you points. Because you do so little damage, you get stuck in a hole on the mid rounds, barely having enough to buy more ammo and not having enough to pack. This really limits on what guns you can actually use from the box. It doesn't matter if you don't like burst weapons, the IMR infinitely prints ammo, extremely slowly, but prints ammo nonetheless. So if you get it, you have to use it. As being stuck in a position where you have nothing and can't buy ammo is far more common on this map than you think. The exosuit itself, while on the surface looks like a great power trip, that lasts for all about 30 seconds until you realize that the increased melee damage is only a 1-hit until round 5. That's about half as good as the Bowie knife, which this should feel more like. By the time you reach the exosuit on an average game, the stronger melee attack is already useless. And the Exo Slam perk does absolutely nothing to zombies. It doesn't even bother to stun any in its slam radius, so using this in a horde is a 100% guarantee to down yourself. Direct impacting zombies won't even kill them half the time, just make crawlers. The recharge is so long, it isn't worth the points you spend on it. The only thing it's useful for is getting you out of the air faster to run away from the zombies, not to actually fight them. The one and only thing in this game that consistently kills are the impact grenades, which are a 750 point wall buy that you will purchase. Because here's where Exo Zombie's biggest issue comes into play. The prices. and the game's audacity to give you barely anything after each round. You know how typically, in good zombies, when you start a round, you get a refill on grenades? Or when you purchase more from the wall, you receive a full set? Well here, one. You get one single grenade. And at the start of a new round, if you want to go purchase more, you have to buy them one at a time for 500 points. 500 for one grenade. And this just compounds when damn near everything feels so expensive. Like the box, and especially the doors on this map. You wouldn't think that 1500 points for a spawn door is a lot, until you play the map solo and try to get to the exosuit ASAP. Which you'll need to do, as this game's zombies are the most relentless in the whole series. The wonder weapon for this map, the Magnetron, is so lame you'd not even think it's a wonder weapon the first time you pick it up. The only thing this underwhelming thing is good for is making you points, because it has a lot of ammo and is incredibly weak on damage. Its only useful function is to slow zombies down. Its actual killing potential is incredibly slow and just not worth wasting the ammo, even though it has plenty. It's best used as a utility weapon. So as ironic as having a bad wonder weapon be useful is, if you get it, you'll at least not have to worry about being super low on points for the low to mid rounds, but for high rounds, if you can even make it that far, this thing does absolutely nothing, as points mean a lot less at that stage of the game. Guns in this game just feel as if they have no ammo at all, and that's why if you have the points to do it, if you're out, just packing it to get more ammo is the better option. As with how weak guns are, getting your damage increased, even if it's marginally, is important. Something Exozombies has, and Infection by extension, are ordnance drops. These can either be point drops, which you know if the game constantly gives you free points, the devs knew that points were a problem. Camouflages, which make you invisible to zombies for a brief time. Pick these up. Not that they'll actually save you when you need them. They're not like in plain sight from BO3 and 4. Where the second you press the button, you're immune to zombie hits, or they can't see you. No. Only after the long, drawn-out animation where you activate the camo does it finally work. So this can, and will, get you killed if you try to use it as some get-out-of-jail-free card. There are drones you can call in to help you, which, when certain bosses are spawning, you'll need all the help you can get. And turrets, which do almost nothing on their own and get swarmed almost instantly. But you can take the guns off of these things and store them for whenever you want to use them. They're fairly weak, along with everything else on this map, but when you aren't able to buy ammo, you'll be thankful that you have a rocket turret or death machine in your pocket. But not the laser turret. That thing sucks, and good lord, what were they thinking with that? Ah! Now, traditionally, starting pistols have 8 rounds in their mags and become explosive when packed. But not the Atlas 45. When it's packed, it isn't even explosive, making it one of the lamest starting pistols ever. And before it's packed, having 10 bullets in a mag means you have to shoot 4, knife, shoot 4, knife, and then reload the extra 2 rounds on wave 1. It's pointless and just another small irritation. Traps in this map are so out of the way, you might forget they're even there. The ambulance trap is a decent one, which ironically, it doesn't even kill, just acts as a monkey bomb. There's an orbital strike trap in Burger Town that thankfully doesn't do any damage to you if you're jumping around, so if you manage to get to high rounds, it can actually be helpful. But this map messes things up because the security power-up from Outbreak that activates all the traps on the map at once isn't on the map. So in nearly every way, we are regressing from the first map in this game, which is a really bad sign as Outbreak itself was already a lackluster experience to the highest degree. But Infection, you won't believe how terrible the map layout actually is. First off, this map is fucking ugly. It's gray and drab and boring to look at, which is extremely disappointing as this is supposed to be exo-zombies, a futuristic take on the mode, and it's the most uninteresting looking map there is. That being said, Infection's layout is one of the absolute worst there is when it comes to the Shinonuma concept of a central hub and spawn building and paths that branch off from that. Mainly because this map has a whole second layer to it, that being the sewers. The underground that connects to all areas of the map in the most inconvenient way. Especially when it comes to the one location that stands out on this map, Burger Town. Actually, getting to Burger Town is one of the most arduous tasks in opening up and navigating a map I've ever experienced. From the spawn, there are two doors you can choose from, Atlas Command and Value Voltage. These are two of the main areas you'll spend most of the game in. The third is Burger Town. But do you know how you get there? By going underground into the sewers via two additional doors, and once you get to Burger Town itself, you have another door which holds the power, so you have to open it in order to get any use out of this location. What makes this so frustrating is that this is where Jug is. The exosuit resides in the sewers behind two doors from spawn, but Jug is behind 5 doors. That's 8,000 points to get to Jug on top of the 2,500 to buy it itself. You are so starved for points early game because of how expensive the doors are, and because by the time you get there, you need to have bought a weapon in order to defend yourself and other things as well. There will be times you won't have Jug when the BS special rounds start happening, and you're woefully unprepared, which we'll get to those soon, trust me. The 3 open areas that give you the only opportunity to jump around and stay alive are Value Voltage, Atlas Command, and Burger Town. And that being said, Atlas Command is by far the most cramped out of all of them, due to the fact that there are so many low ceilings which defeat the purpose of jumping to use the exosuit. So what will end up happening if you try to train here is you'll be overwhelmed on the ground, jump up to the top of the building with this stupid net above it, and become stuck as you desperately try to dash off the roof. Or worse, try to outjump the zombies and have this other stupid low ceiling block you from going down this hall, which forces you back into the zombies and kills you. Atlas Command has a sniper trap, but the activation button is inside the 3D printer room, which is very dangerous to activate during a round. So to even be safe enough to use it, you have to activate it right as the round starts. And honestly, it barely feels like it kills anything. The next open area is Value Voltage, and while there's more space to jump around, the zombie spawns are much closer to the upper platform where you spend most of your time. So what happens is when you get EMP'd, more on that later, you fall into this tight corridor next to this gas truck and become trapped. And navigating this narrow building to run away or pack is a 50-50 on if a zombie will spawn in front of you, which zombies spawning ahead of you is a huge problem with this map when we enter the sewers. These are dark, tight, close quarters hallways with tons of zombie spawns, and there's basically no room to jump around at all. Which is funny, as this is where the exosuit is located, and you can barely even use the thing down here. The water area has some space to jump, but the walls are so close that when zombies spawn here, you'll bump into them, throwing you off your trajectory in the air. And the alligator trap, while visually cool, only kills like 1 zombie every 5 to 7 seconds, it seems. But the problem is, when you're forced down here for various reasons, you're going to have to rely on this trap to end rounds for you if you're out of ammo. And what will happen is if one of the alligators kills the last zombie on a special round, the max ammo can become stuck outside the map or you can't grab it, which is just great. Down here is where the issue of this map's layout comes together. The way to Burger Town is only found down here in the sewers, behind 2 more doors, and along the way there are these 2 long, narrow corridors where Speed Cola and the impact grenades are. These tunnels are absolute death traps on the mid to high rounds. Coming through here is a complete nightmare as zombies will spawn ahead of you in massive numbers. But the worst part is, once you open the entire path to Burger Town, you come to realize that there's only one way in, and that's the sewer entrance you came from. It's not like Atlas or Voltage, where they're connected by the spawn and you can just cut through to reach the other. Here, if you want to get to Burger Town, you have to go all the way through the sewers every time. This makes the map flow a complete slog, as putting both Jug, the only useful killing trap, and one of the 2 Pack-a-Punches here means you're going to have to come here often. There's a fast travel that takes you from Burger Town to the sewers, but not the other way around. And of course, the fast travel costs money. And if you've already used one fast travel in a certain round, the price just keeps going up. And you can actually get killed while you try to use it as well, because just like the camouflage, it takes a second before it sends you through. So you can actually get downed going through the fast travel, which makes it less useful than 90% of fast travels that exist. But the thing is, you have to use it, because on the mid rounds, if you try and leave Burger Town back the way you came, you will get killed. There's no avoiding it. It doesn't matter the weapons you have. The spawns are too much and fast in the middle of the rounds. And if you forget about the camo trap further down the hall, which you will more often than not, you'll get stuck trying to use the exosuit to jump through here. And this leads to the biggest problem with the game flow on this map. You can't just leave an area in the middle of a round. The zombie spawns are so loose and frequent, if you go to another area, because all the connecting paths are so close quarters, you have so many spawns in them, you'll get trapped. Which leads to the most annoying aspect of the movement in this game. Sprinting feels like a slog. You're meant to constantly jump around with the exosuit, but you're limited in the amount of dashes you can do in a 3-second time frame. And when you're unable to use the exosuit and have to rely on just your sprint and slide, you literally feel how slow you actually move. And the zombies, they can just jump 20 feet to hit you. There's no balance or game flow whatsoever. It's complete pandemonium every round, as the zombies have no semblance of a horde or predictable patterns. They just swarm from everywhere at every moment. It just feels like you're fighting against the game just being able to move in the map. You can't camp in this game. You can't even train. You can only jump and jump around every single second, hoping your explosive weapons or traps will kill the zombies for you. It's one of the most backwards and unfun gameplay loops I have ever seen in zombies. It creates this strange dichotomy where you both feel like you can't move and can't stop moving. It keeps you annoyingly tense the entire time because there's almost nowhere that's safe and nothing you can do to get a breather, which is so frustrating and leads you to being on edge the whole game. I literally woke up after playing this trash to a stiff neck because the muscles were so tensed up from playing this garbage. I had to go to the chiropractor to get it fixed. This map actually injured me. It's quite literally painful to play. One of the worst parts of the gameplay is when you're trying to use the exosuit and zombies on the ground are hitting you, preventing you from jumping. This happens so much more than you'd think. And it doesn't even have to be a horde surrounding you. 1 or 2 zombies will cause you to get stuck and be unable to move. And that's the problem with most of the layout on this map. There's just seemingly so much garbage that you constantly get stuck on when you try to jump or run around. Be that random ditches in the ground, random pillars or corners of trash that looks like you can easily avoid, but you always get stuck on. And that's just the normal zombies. They alone cause you so many problems because they're so much more maneuverable than you are. They move faster, jump higher, and farther than you can, which is the exact opposite of how zombies are supposed to be. Another issue this causes is health regeneration. It's agonizingly slow. Be that because you're basically being hit every 2 seconds with no way to stop it. But playing this game, you'll be seeing red on your screen so much, you'd think you're seeing it in real life. But another bizarre issue that comes up is at the end of rounds. In between Burger Town and Atlas Command, there's this hallway that you can look through and see the other side. You can't pass through it, as doing that would make the map actually have good flow, but the zombies can pass through it. And it always happens at the end of rounds when you're moving from one area to the next. Zombies will either despawn or take this route, and you're stuck for like 3 minutes trying to find them and end the round. It is so tedious and annoying how often this happens. When you're just running around with nothing on the map like a jackass for what feels like forever. The regular zombies themselves are already a pain to deal with, but it's the special enemies where infection goes from bad to worse. To put this in perspective for you, there are more special zombies on this one map than all of Black Ops 1. It's complete overkill and leads to every horror engagement being an absolute mess. There are normal zombies, exo zombies, exploding zombies, spiker zombies that shoot off spikes every time you damage them that'll hit you if you're too close, and trust me, they do a lot more damage than you'd think. Acid zombies that just drip it all over the place even before you shoot and kill them. Elite armored zombies that take about twice the amount of normal damage to kill. Dogs, exploding dogs, the dreaded EMP zombies that shut off your exosuit every time they hit you. There's even EMP dogs, for God's sake. Why? Why is it necessary to have this many enemy variations? There's also a heavy boss zombie, the Goliath, which just acts as a massive bullet sponge and can EMP you too. And last, but certainly not least, is the stupid infected zombies that will infect you in a single hit and force you to the decontamination station. The regular zombies themselves are already incredibly aggressive and agile. We didn't need this many special enemies to make the experience even more frustrating. It's difficult to explain how much all these zombie types make the experience so much worse, so it's best to highlight the ones that practically break the game. The EMP zombies are regarded as some of the worst special enemies in all of zombies, and they rightfully deserve that title. What's really worse about them here is that after Outbreak, and after all the complaints about these enemies and how much they defeat the purpose of having an exosuit, the devs refused to listen. They didn't nerf them, remove them, or even lower the amount that could spawn at a time like World War II did with the Wusslings. No, they did the opposite and gave the EMP ability to more enemies. There are even traps that EMP you when you use them. The zombies in this game have more movement capabilities than you do, and when you have tight enclosed areas, the exosuit can just barely save you. So when you have an enemy that takes away that feature and punishes you so much for this long, it makes the game nearly unplayable. Because when you get hit by an EMP zombie or dog, you're just stuck like that for 3 whole seconds. But if you're hit again, it resets the time. And the EMP zombies don't even have to actually hit you. They just need to suggest a hit. It's here when you really start to feel how slow your sprint and slide are when you're stuck on the ground the whole game. The sheer radius of the EMP is absolutely unfair, and the amount of them that can spawn in a round or at a time is insane when you look at it. There can be more EMP zombies on the map than regular zombies. And add spikers to that, and you're stuck on the ground constantly taking hits you can't avoid. Which brings us to the Goliath. A completely brain-dead boss zombie that just runs faster than any normal zombie and spams a ground slam that EMPs you, of course, and shoots missiles that even EMP you. EMP missiles. All this crap does is just take control away from the player. And that leads us to the worst special rounds in all of COD Zombies. The infected rounds. What these rounds do is spawn in carrier zombies that if they touch you, you become infected and are on a countdown. And if you don't cure yourself within the time frame given, you instantly down. The only way to cure yourself is go to the lowest point of the map in a literal dark pit and activate a cleansing machine to get rid of the infection. By the way, every time you're hit again after a carrier zombie has infected you, it takes more time off your life. So what this means is 2 things. 1, you're either forced down here every time a carrier round happens and are forced to stay here until it ends, or you have to play absolutely flawlessly and not get hit once. Which means you're essentially playing a one-hit mode in a game with the most aggressive zombies ever. These rounds are absolutely terrible because they take away player freedom. They take away player choice in how they play this survival mode, because now you have to camp in this one spot or else you get insta-killed. It's lame, annoying, reductive, and tedious when you're so desperate to avoid going down to that pit and you spend more than half the round jumping around like crazy only to get hit once by a zombie that you couldn't even see in all the commotion. Your only option if you wait too long to get to the decontamination machine is to quickly end the round, as that's the only other way to stop the infection. These rounds suck, plain and simple, but they are absolutely nothing in comparison to the other special rounds that Infection has, as well as its own unique map mechanics. For a moment, I want you to think of what the most annoying, tedious, and repetitive objective you could possibly put in your game. If you thought escort missions, you're right. The thing Infection has become infamous for is its survivor escort rounds. The first time a forced objective has been put onto the player in COD Zombies. So, yay! Around every 5 rounds or so, you'll be given an objective to escort survivors around the map to pick up points from a hovercraft. These are slow, frustrating, tedious, and in some cases, impossible. Depending on what state you're in during the game, you might not be ready to do them. But the first one always happens on round 5, and there's no avoiding it. You have to go to wherever the survivor is on the map, slowly wait for them to crawl out of their hole, and begin their pathing to the exfil site. The survivor AI are some of the stupidest and slowest of any AI I've had to escort in a video game. They don't bother to run, but rather hobble their way to where they need to go, which is usually the longest and most inconvenient route to the pickup flare. But the most obnoxious thing about these guys is rather than just constantly being on the move to, live, they decide to take it upon themselves to try and attack the zombies swarming them. Which, no, they do basically no damage to them and can't kill a thing. They'll even start walking backwards to go hit a zombie for no reason, making these escorts take forever. They get stuck on damn near everything. One zombie will completely throw them off their pathing, and they can get glitched into corners more often than not. And the worst part of the actual process of escorting them is if you don't have a full arsenal of weapons and equipment, you're not able to do these. Yeah, sorry, 1 packed AR on round 5 when I barely have any of my perks isn't enough to do this. That's why getting Jug early is such a nightmare, because if you don't have it by round 5, you're screwed. You basically cannot do these escorts without Jug. And why is that? Because you might think, oh, I'll just get the round down to a low amount of zombies, then start the escort. No. The escort is on a timer the second the round begins, and once you start it, it infinitely spawns zombies until the escort is over. So what that means is if the survivor gets caught on a few zombies along the path, and you don't have enough grenades to unstick them, zombies will keep spawning forever, keeping the survivor from moving while what little ammo you have gets slowly depleted. And if you succeed after all that trouble, what do you get as a reward? Extra ordnance drops? A max ammo? No. A single pack for whatever weapon you're holding. You'd have gotten enough points from the massive amount of zombies that spawned in doing the escort. So this is hardly worth it. A single pack level. What a joke. So, the big question. Why not just skip them? Why not just ignore them altogether? Well, that would require giving choice to the player, and apparently, that wasn't what they were going for. The punishment for failing the escort, be that by refusing to start it or having the survivor die, is so absolutely egregious. It's the main reason why I quit Exo Zombies in the first place and went back to Black Ops 2. When you fail the escort, you get EMP'd, all the power on the map gets shut down, all the power switches get flipped off, meaning you have to flip them all back on, and there's an electrical surge that lasts for what feels like an eternity, wherein which you can't buy perks, can't pack your weapons, use traps, and worst of all, can't buy ammo for your wall weapons! Yes, that's why the buying ammo situation becomes 10 times more important the higher the round you go. Because this punishment time where you can't buy anything extends to every single purchasable item on the map. It's awful. So what this means is if you tried to do the survivor escort, used up all the ammo you had, and failed, you're stuck with nothing, and you're punished even further by not being able to buy more ammo so you can, keep playing the game! The worst part is, the game will get to a point where it doesn't matter what weapons you have, what kill streaks you have, or what traps you use. They will become impossible. Your guns don't do enough damage. You don't have enough ammo, and the survivor gets stuck on just one zombie, which means you'll fail and have to go all around the map every single time this happens and return all the power boxes on to use the traps. Fuck these escort objectives, and fuck the devs that thought this was even remotely a good idea. What this leads to is when you know you're about to fail an escort, to desperately run to the nearest pack-a-punch and get as much ammo as you can before the whole map is EMP'd. And another annoying thing that can happen with the survivor escorts is that they can spawn behind closed doors, some of which you don't have enough points to open yet. So you better hurry and make them, or the survivor will die and you'll get everything shut down again. Taking things away from the player. That's what this map does best. And if you thought the punishment for failing the escorts was bad, we come to the worst idea ever. The gas zones. Every few rounds, much like the survivors, entire sections of the top part of the map get gassed. Meaning, if you stay there, you're infected and have to go down to the decontamination station. So that means for the entirety of that round, you can't enter whatever area the game chose. Which, it's more than always the exact area you're standing in. So that forces you down to where? You guessed it. The sewers. This is, without a doubt, the worst game mechanic I've ever seen. Who on the dev team thought this was okay or fun or a fair challenge to just close off areas of the map for no reason? And worst part is, on higher rounds, multiple areas can get gassed, meaning that both Value Voltage and Burger Town can get closed off. So you can't even go and access the two pack-a-punches. Or worse, if Value Voltage and Atlas Command get gassed while you're too far into one and don't get out fast enough by running into spawn, you can get trapped in the terrible spawn room. But what's even worse than that is when all three areas are gassed and you're stuck in the sewers. God, I hate this map. What were they thinking? Just quoting AVGN here, aren't we? People wrongly call this map Burger Town, but the actual name is Infection. But you know what it should be called? The fucking sewers. Because that's where you spend 90% of your time on high rounds because of the gas. And I know this because I got to round 45 solo without going down once. And let me tell you, pal, it sucks. It sucks down here. I know lots of people use the just look at it argument for talking about some maps, like, how could you not like Shadows? Just look at it. Well, how could you like Infection? Just look at it. Does this look fun to you? Because it's not. Nothing. Not one thing about this map is well thought out or well designed. Every single thing is frustrating. Every aspect is bad. Not a part of this map is good, it's completely abysmal, and yes, that extends to the most pointless and confusing Easter egg I think I've ever seen. So, Exozombies' story is supposedly some dark tale of a major corporation discovering some biological weapon and using their own employees as test subjects for their own nefarious goals. And this Easter egg is about using a golden frying pan infused with zombie blood from an altar to cook a burger for a robot. What the f*** are we doing? What is this? The whole quest involves finding small hidden items scattered all over the map in pairs of 4 in sometimes dark and hard to see areas. It's nothing but a monotonous fetch quest. This Easter egg is one of the most pointless, out of place, totally inconsistent, illogical, juvenile, stupid waste of time I think any egg has ever been. You're cooking a burger for Bubby.
Bubby? I'm your white knight.
And that's it. You launch a rocket for some reason and give a battery, keycard, and a burger to Bubby. A terrible aspect of the map's Easter egg that has nothing to actually do with the Easter egg is all the main quest parts and activations need to be brought to Burger Town. But because of this map's shitty mechanics, the map can gas Burger Town while you're in it or trying to get to it to do Easter egg stuff, stopping your progression and just adding one more thing to piss you off. What is the point of this? This has nothing to do with anything. This is where I completely checked out of Exozombies' story. Because nothing that has such random filler garbage like this in it is even worth discussing further. The only single thing about this map that isn't a negative is about 75% through the Easter egg. Once Bubby gives you the key to the top of Burger Town, you gain access to the max pack machine, which will pack your gun to level 25 if it's already at level 20. That is the one and only thing that I can say isn't a bad thing about this map. But the max pack machine is probably the most worthless on this map than any other. Because, as we all know, if you successfully escort a survivor, you get a free pack level. So if you have a level 20 weapon while you do that, you just get level 25 without having to do almost the entirety of this stupid, pointless Easter egg. But here's the thing. Getting a max-packed wall gun isn't as great as you might think. Just look at this. Look at how pathetic that damage is. This is a max-packed gun on round 36. Christ, even max-packed BO6 guns aren't this weak at this point in the game. And once your gun is max-packed, you can't get more ammo by repacking it again. So if you get a box-exclusive gun to this point and it starts to shut out on damage, you're screwed. You simply can't make the points back to keep buying ammo. And if you actually complete the Easter egg all the way through, the burger in Burger Town will spit out little burger bombs that you can throw at zombies. They may look cool, but they're just as weak as a regular grenade. And you only get like 4 or 5 before they're gone forever. But make sure you don't throw them too close to yourself, because unlike the impact grenades, which these operate very similar to, these will insta-kill you. So no, not even they are cool. Bubby himself can come to life at the end of the quest and kill zombies for you for a while, which you could say is cool, but sometimes when you beat the Easter egg, this doesn't happen and he just explodes. Because why allow anything good to be consistent? The only consistent thing about this map is how irritating it is. Everything. Absolutely everything is bad. There isn't any redeemable qualities to this map, or mode for that matter. It's honestly pathetic. Exozombies as a whole is awful, with poor gameplay features that they could have improved with each subsequent map, but instead, they made it even worse with Infection. Infection is somehow a reduction in terms of playability and player choice from Outbreak, which itself was already more shallow than an early BO1 map, and coming from BO2 to this game was the biggest insult ever. But we all really thought that the devs would listen and make the next map better. But it's like they brainstormed all the worst ideas possible and put them all into one single experience that I can say with all certainty is the worst zombie map of all time. There are some who say, well, Bus Depot is clearly worse. And the reason why I find this map to be the bottom of the barrel more so than any other map or mode is because of just how frustrating it is, how borderline unplayable it is. Not one single thing in this map is good. Not one idea, element, or feature that is fun. I can't for the life of me imagining that any map could be worse than this. And in the 10 years since its release, nothing has reached the lowest lows as this awful, disgusting sewer.